of a child. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Somi.
Good evening, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. How's work?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate you. Thank you a lot for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
All right. This Paul on the line.
Welcome, Paul. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I want to tell my brother he should take the bull by the horn, except maybe basically because when all this doubting begin to come inside of a relationship, except maybe he's trying to say he didn't love the girl enough for her to get pregnant for him. If he really loves this girl enough, most definitely there should not be any concern because the parents are aware already. You understand me?
Mm-hmm.
The father, the mother are aware that they are dating. So I don't say anything that is going to be new that they cannot take any longer. That okay, because she's pregnant. Okay, if for instance, most definitely they would also okay. He should be the one that will take his stand. That's okay, please, because of this situation, this is how I want these things to be like. I actually love your daughter. I need her to be my wife. I want her to be my wife, but I just want you to give me the time for her to be able to have a safe delivery then before I can go with the marriage right and everything. For me, what I'm feeling is that is not quite too sure if he wants to really want to go on with the lady. Maybe the marriage is the pregnancy now that is now done on him. Like, you get me.
I'm in too deep. I understand you. I understand.
You get so because sometimes when you're not ready for somebody, but when the pregnancy now come in, you're not like, oh, let me just come out, play along. You understand?
I understand.
The parents are aware, so there's no need to be scared of anything. There's no need to be scared of anything. If he really loves the girl, you should just do the needful. The only thing you do your explanation. As long as you're ready to accept your responsibility, taking care of her, like as you said, you can take care of her. But the instance of getting married to her or paying to come and pay a bride price, I think most tribes in my own place, like you don't pay a woman bride price when she's pregnant for you. You get in my own part. You don't pay a woman bride price when she's pregnant for you. After she has given birth, then you cannot come and do the needful.
Okay.
Do the bride price, do the introduction. You cannot do the familiarity of the introduction of, okay, yes, I'm the person that is in charge. I'm the one that's responsible for your daughter's pregnant and everything. So I'm ready to go with that. Okay, fine. After the pregnancy, after the childbirth, you cannot come and do the introduction and all that. So you shouldn't be scared, except maybe having some other skeleton in his cupboard. That's what I can say. But
all right.
If he's really ready, you should take the bull by the horn.
Thank you.
Take your girl to the parents. Tell them this is who I want, this person I want. But for every circumstances that is beyond my control right now, I want her to give birth first before I can do anything.
Okay. All right, I hear you. Thank you so much. If Thaddeus could call back, unfortunately, I had to let him go because of the commercial break. I didn't know if he could hang on. If Thaddeus could call back, perhaps it would be best to ask him why he doesn't want to get married now. Because if really and truly, like you said, and like some callers have said, you also mentioned, you're willing to take care of her, even have her live with you. Isn't that the same thing as being married to her? So what exactly is making you afraid of going through with the rights and doing it the way it's supposed to be done? First and foremost, so there's this thing about being with somebody and then being with them to the point that you get them pregnant. There are consequences that come with these things. The traditional father or mother, the traditional parent will want to say, it's best that you get married to my daughter, since this has happened already. It's best that you get married to my daughter, so that things are done honorably. It's not necessarily because a parent just wants to rush their child into your house. It's so that there is honor on the family name. when she's able to get married. So even if she gets married and 2 months later she has the child, to a lot of parents, that's an honorable way of doing things. So Thaddeus want to know exactly what the problem is that is making you say, you see, the marriage thing, I don't want it just yet until after the child is born. If you're able to answer that question, even if you don't call in, it's fine. It's okay for you to think about that in your head, because like I said, we need to bring the doctor on, and I need to go and find out why I can't see him virtually just yet. I need to sort that out, because those are also important conversations we need to have. So even if you can't call in now, you can call in during the dial around about 11:45, and let's talk some more about it. But even if you can't call in, ask yourself honestly and truly, answer the question, why don't I want to marry this woman yet? Because every other thing that you say you're willing to do is what you do to a woman that you're married to, right? So I want to understand why you don't want to. Because there's also this thing that happens with men. And I say this because I've seen it a lot in a lot of situations. Anola said something that sounded a lot like what men will eventually say. Oh, it's because I got you pregnant. I didn't really want to marry you from the get-go. And so it should now be like the pregnancy is what pressured the man into marrying the woman, and then resentment starts to build at some point or the other. So you want to be able to ask yourself that question and answer it, Thaddeus. If you're able to answer the question, then it will help you know how to approach the girl's parents. I'm glad that you know them and they know you. And just like the last caller said, sometimes it's about sitting down and breaking it down. If it's a thing of finances, you should be able to explain. Maybe the cost of weddings is what is scaring you. I don't know. If you can't answer that question, there's only so much we can do to theorize. So I'll take this last call. If it's you, I hope it is. If it's not, we will have to postpone this conversation because I need to go and find my doctor so that we can get into the conversation for the hour. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Thaddeus.
Thaddeus, thank you for calling back. Okay, quick one. You heard my question, right? Do you want to answer?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, actually, before this happened, we actually discussing the marriage. We were talking about it actually. So telling me that if we don't want to maybe get long time before getting married. And for me, also I was telling how I wanted to do. It was maybe so now I'm not ready to do some time. I will do some order, and then at the point why discussing all these issues came inside. So the problem here is that to me put some things in order. It's not like I don't really like her. That it's not the kind of person I want to settle down with. The kind of person I want to settle down with. To understand me, I understand her, but I really want to put some things in order, maybe one or two, and then getting to know my people. And then the last caller, I don't know, maybe the person is from Benue State. I'm also from Benue State. From our side, we don't really feel that side when the woman is pregnant. I'm a good guy. So there's what happened. And then my father is rich, my mother is rich. All of them are rich. So I really need to put some things in order. And then I have a step brother telling me all this, and then I really have to praise them, and then after that, I will know what to do about the marriage. That is just the thing.
Hold up. You said you need to take care of who?
I said I really need to praise my people, tell them this is the situation on ground.
Okay, you haven't told them?
Yes, sir. I have to tell them what is going on, and then they are not here with me. And then all those things. So then I will know what to do.
Okay, so you need to get your siblings to weigh in on the matter. How much do you entrust your siblings with decisions that have to do with you? Because I remember you gave me the background, and I'm guessing this is part of the reason why you gave me the background. You said you're the last child of your family, yes? So, so that means that your siblings, are very key when it comes to decision making for you. If they told you not to go ahead and marry this woman, will you go with that decision, or will you stand on your word and the fact that you've impregnated her, will you stand on your word? Like you said, she's the kind of person I want to be with. Will you stand on your word down the line when she has had the baby and go ahead and do the needful after you've put things in place? Or is it just a case of their decision is what matters right now?
No, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to partner, nobody tells you who to marry. I believe that they will not tell me who to marry, who not to marry. And
Okay.
the very question is not my tribe. I already know they have problems with that, but then to me, it's not like they will make decisions for me, but I really need to tell them, explain things to them.
Okay.
They are not going to tell me what to do, actually.
All right, John. I mean, we've heard everything you have to say about this. Just like the other callers, the other listeners advised, I mean, I still have a few suggestions here, but from what the other people have said, because of time, it sounds to me like you can go ahead, arrange yourself properly, and go and have a conversation with this woman's parents. If you're able to state your case clearly enough, I don't think it should be a problem. But from what I'm hearing, you need to have a conversation with her parents. You need to have a conversation with your siblings. And I mean, somebody said your girlfriend has no choice but to agree with whatever conditions you give her. I don't think that's the case. I think that she's old enough to not be totally dependent on you, and she should be old enough to say, this is also what I want, this is how I feel about this, because she's the one who's going to be carrying the pregnancy and dealing with a lot of the consequences, especially if you both decide, what you both decide is different from what her parents want or what your siblings want. So make sure that you are in this 100% with your girlfriend and you are able to reach an understanding before you go and meet any of the other parties, so that whatever decision you're going with, you're going as a unit and you are firm in your decision. That's what I'll say about that.
Okay, ma'am.
Will you let me know how it goes?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Thank you so much, Thaddeus. Yes.
I can call this number, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You can call this number. I am here most times. Even if you don't catch me Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you will definitely catch me either on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Every week. Okay? Thank you so much, Thaddeus. Thank you for sharing. All right. I need to go find my doctor and make sure that he comes and joins me to get the conversation started, but I'll quickly take the messages here. Ola had written in earlier that he shouldn't act out of pity, and he elaborated on his message. He says, it's pity, Somi. He will only realize this a few years down the marriage. Having a child should never be the sole reason to marry a woman. He should ask the pertinent question whether if he would be buoyant enough to marry the girl, or if the girl will marry him the way he is if she wasn't pregnant for him. I've been in that exact situation. The mere fact that she's pregnant for you seem to love her that much will only trigger that you want to marry her, but this is your best chance. Take a step back and answer the questions I've posed above. Well, Ola, he has provided a lot more context that would better sort of address some of the issues that you've raised here. He says it's really about her and he really wants to be with somebody like her, and he's explained why. So, but thank you for your contribution anyway, because yes, some people do it out of pressure, and I agree that resentment comes up along the line. Hi, Somi, I've always come home late these days and naturally tune into Nigeria Info, so I get to hear you. No doubt you are quite skilled on this love relationship, am I? Why, thank you. Human interaction, behavior, night parole. I'm a music lover, and since you say Thursdays is Body and Soul, I want to suggest you use the song Body and Soul by Very Soulful Anita Baker as a signature tune for your Thursday show. Just a suggestion from a music and radio lover, and I'm keeping fingers crossed that you look favorably to that suggestion. I will keep listening till I fall asleep. Cheers. Dozie, thank you for your message. I've actually played a few times. Sometimes I played I think for the most part, I played after the start of the show, but I see where you're going with that, and I appreciate that suggestion. I wanted to use it as the bed at some point, but I couldn't get a version that is licensed to play on my show. But thank you for your suggestion. Chukwumeri J from Asokoro says, good evening, my favorite female OAP. Wow, thank you. Says, please, if he doesn't have intentions of marrying her, let him not. I repeat, let him not make a mistake of living with her throughout her pregnancy to delivery and then expect her to go back to her parents' house afterwards. It wouldn't work. And if I were her parents, I wouldn't accept that because my child should not be a baby factory. However, the best way, if he has no marriage intentions, is to admit to the parents, own up, and then commit to taking care of the girl through her pregnancy and the baby after birth, but she has to live with her parents. That's a good point. But if he wants to marry her, then he can bring her in to live with her while they take their time to work things out. Thank you for your contribution. The last one here. Good evening, Somi. The issue about what this guy is not ready to marry his girlfriend after pregnancy is that the guy is not financially stable and he's not ready to take responsibility for the marriage. It's all about responsibility. Jafaru Hussein from Suleja in Angwan Koko with that one. Well, that's why I said he needs to come and answer some questions, which he did. It sounds like he has plans, and sometimes your best laid plans get thrown out the window, especially if you're not intentional in those plans. I mean, the milk is already spilt, right? We can't be saying if you were not ready, then you shouldn't have impregnated the girl. Right now, we're moving on and we're saying next course of action. And he has said he just needs to put one or two things in place. I believe everybody's advice today has been valid. And thank you all for contributing. Can I go and find my doctor? And then if you have anything more to say on this, we pick up the conversation much later after the late night request show. If you all are so intent on weighing in on the matter, I can even, reduce the time for the late night request show. But I don't know. I can't promise that just yet. But my phone lines are buzzing, and I know, but I need to get my doctor. So I'm going to go on a quick break. When I get back, the conversation will pick up. We are in Body and Soul Conversations, and we're on part 3 of dealing with sexual dysfunction. It's supposed to be for the ladies specifically, and so we don't want to take from their time. It won't be fair. So I will come back after this break. And by popular request, it's Body and Soul by Anita Baker.
We are inspired by our roots, boundless. We create our own rhythm, the rhythm of the new Goldberg Black. A symphony of ingredients to savor, dark malt for that rich, dark quality, and aroma that captivates. 6% alcohol to turn up the enjoyment. Refreshing lager with a kick of black. Feel the groove with Goldberg Black. Same rules, new rhythm. Not suitable for persons under 18 years. Drink responsibly.
Get to know firsthand.
Coming to take over the FCT as a minister.
Be one with your city.
River State House to the CBN.
It's What's Happening Abuja.
What's happening Abuja?
What's Happening Abuja with LFEZ. LFEZ.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info, Abuja.
Let's talk.
It's new, it's fresh, it's the H45, the all-new Heineken 45cl. The H45 bottle is designed
12 to 3 p.m.
Live on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. Our journey, like those before us, has never been easy. Each day we rise with the spirit of progress in us. This is who we are. On this journey, enjoy the smooth, refreshing taste of Life Lager beer. Obiago.
Life Continental Lager. New look, smooth, refreshing taste. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info.
Come, let's take you on a late night rendezvous where intimacy meets insight. Where we explore the secrets of smart lifestyle choices, sexual health, and the science of self-care. With leading medical experts guiding the conversation, we're here to educate, empower, and ignite your curiosity. Because your body and soul deserve the best. Late night just got a whole lot hotter and healthier. Body and soul, because you deserve to feel good inside and outside. Thursdays, 10 p.m. on Tonight with Somi.
As with the nature of things technical, sometimes we have a glitch here and there and something that throws us off. And so 10 p.m. for Body and Soul is 10:35 today. But I'm glad to say that Dr. Felix Magnus is in the virtual building. Good evening, boss. How are you doing?
Yeah. Good evening. Somi, I'm here.
Yes.
Thank God.
Thank God indeed. Because I was like, it's not today when we're supposed to spend time with our ladies that this thing is happening. As much as possible, we'll try and make up for the lost time, see if we can push the conversation by an additional 15 minutes. And so let's get straight into it. All right, if you're just joining us, it is Somi here with Dr. Felix Magnus, a consultant urologist who's been handling the conversation around sexual dysfunction for us in the last couple of weeks. Today makes it week 3, and it looks like we might still be on this conversation for at least a little while longer because we want to make sure that we've covered all the bases. Yes, and so Dr. Felix is here with us again, and we're streaming live. You want to go to our Facebook and YouTube channels. On Facebook, it's Nigeria Info Abuja. On YouTube is Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja. You can find us in any of those channels and you can jump in on the conversation there. So let's get straight into it. Dr. Magnus and I have been looking at, we started by looking at what causes it, some of the triggers, and then we started to delve into resolving them, right? But I'm sure he's a very thorough doctor. If you don't know, now you know. He's very thorough, so I'm sure he would like to do a bit of a recap, and then we'll get into addressing the way forward around sexual dysfunction, especially for the female community, because we've not really touched on that. And remember, you can also just weigh in. Like, if you can have any questions for Dr. Magnus, you can start sending them in so that as he's having these conversations, it's not some lecture that he's giving, but he's also able to take it from some of your experiences, as it's been for you. So, Dr. Magnus, I hand over the mic to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Good to have you also here listening to me. Just like it's been introduced, we're having a discussion on sexual dysfunction. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about the male sexual dysfunction and we've looked at so many things. We've said that sexual dysfunction, as a recap, is any problem arising in any phase of the sexual response cycle that prevents one from having a satisfactory sexual experience. Meaning that anything that makes you not to enjoy sex, literally, is called a sexual dysfunction. And we said that, sex in itself has several phases. You're excited, where we have desire, you desire to have sex, then you're aroused. Beyond the arousal is the fact that you're able to have some orgasms at the end for the man, then resolution phase. That is basically what happens. We've discussed all the different phases in terms of, what desire means, what arousal means, what orgasms for a man means, and what resolution means. But today, maybe I'll just say a little thing about the female sexual dysfunction. Somehow the female sexual cycle is not exactly the same as the male sexual cycle. In fact, females generally don't have just that, well-defined phases, just like what the men have. Not to talk about the fact that female sexual dysfunction is not commonly discussed, because of a lot of psychosocial and cultural problems, so that, less than 20% of people with this condition will actually come to the hospital or say anything about it. And that is why, a lot of things that we know about female sexual dysfunction, today, are not as the way it is for the men. But suffice it to say that for female sexual dysfunction, of course, we have the desire, the phase of desire. Every woman, usually goes through that phase where you desire to be intimate with somebody that you are attracted to. Then after that, you get into the arousal phase. Desire in this case, just like I said, comes with, for a woman, generally what happens for the woman is that, there's some increase in the chemical substance called the hormones. The woman feels like, coming close or allowing the man to come into her safe space. That's basically what happens. This desire for a woman can be triggered mainly by either what she
Doc, something just happened to your audio. Do you want to check it? You sound very distant.
Very distant.
Yes.
Is it better now?
No, not really. If you're using an earpiece, maybe just check to be sure that it's connected all the way through. It's like a partial connection, so we're hearing you, but we are very faint. Dr. Felix? Okay. All right, it's taking his time to sort that out. We don't want to miss out on any bit of information that he has to share, and he's taking his time to really get into what the issues around female sexual dysfunction can look like. Okay, yes, I know sometimes by virtue of culture or society, whatever it is that we find ourselves in, it can be a bit of a sensitive thing for women to bring up. But trust me, speaking as a woman, we need to have these conversations. There we go. The audio is much better now. Thank you for fixing it. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that hitch. Okay, so just like I was saying, the woman, has that desire, which usually for the woman is triggered by her feelings, what she has heard, maybe, unlike for a man, where many a time, desire in a man is triggered by what the man sees. Most men are actually attracted more by vision, what they see, compared to women that are attracted more by what they hear or what they feel. So, but after this desire, the next thing that happens for a woman is arousal. She becomes aroused. For the man, we said that arousal in a man many a time comes in form of erection. The man now has erection. Erection means that the male organ called the penis rises from the resting position. Some people will say it becomes like a stick, meaning it stands up and is ready to do some work. Okay, but for the woman, of course, the woman doesn't have that kind of structure like a man, so that what usually happens many times is there'll be increase in wetness around the genitals, meaning that around the vagina, the vulva, there'll be more secretion, increase in wetness around the area. And also there's what we call the genital swelling response, meaning that the vaginal walls will begin to swell. There's some increase in engorgement and swelling around the area, so that, the place also undergoes some form of expansion, ready to receive the male organ. I mean, like anticipating that something needs to come in. so to say. So that's usually what happens when a woman is aroused: increase in secretion, as well as swelling around the genitals. Okay. So in the process, of course, if sex begins, the woman goes through a phase where we call the plateau phase, where she enjoys it. There's some intense pleasure. Then eventually, just like the man, the woman also has orgasms. For the man, orgasms is usually in form of humming. The man begins to release or ejaculates, so to say. But for the woman doesn't ejaculate. Rather, what happens is that she begins to have some repeated movement of the muscles around the genitals, so we call contraction. She has some form of contraction around the area where it seems the muscles of the genitals tries to tighten around the male organ, and that gives some more pleasure both to the woman and to the man at the same time. That is orgasms. And the beautiful thing is that for a woman, she may not just have only one orgasm. She can actually have more than one orgasm, even for a single episode of sexual intimacy. And usually after orgasms, for men, most men will undergo the resolution phase, where they will begin to lose interest immediately in sex, so that they want to rest after a good experience. But for a woman, that doesn't happen immediately. Rather, they can remain in that phase of orgasm for a while. They stay on it for a while, and they gradually go down to the rest point over some time. So that is usually what happens in a woman. So anything that disrupts or distorts these things I've described is called a dysfunction, a sexual dysfunction in a woman. So that if a woman cannot have appropriate desire, meaning that maybe you're touching her, you're talking to her, telling her those sweet things she wants to know, you're the only sugar in my you're the only sugar in my tea. I've never seen a woman as beautiful as you are. If only you could touch me, I think the whole world would be mine. I mean, those things usually should make her feel like, man, I think this man is desirable. But you're doing all those things. Maybe you're trying to touch her, what people call smooching, and all kinds of things. She's not really having those desires, so to say. That is what we call hypoactive sexual desire disorder. Hypoactive meaning that there's low. Hypo means low. Hyper means high. But for this woman that doesn't have enough desire, we call it hypoactive, meaning that she has a low sexual desire.
Okay.
So that is a problem. It's not a normal thing.
Okay.
It's not a normal thing. Okay. So that is one of the first disorder, hypoactive sexual desire disorder. Then if the woman, doesn't have any problem with desire, and there's a problem with arousal, I mean that though she has desire, but she cannot have any of this increase in, wetness around her genitals. Lubrication is not adequate, as well as the fact that the swelling response doesn't happen. That is called an arousal disorder. An arousal disorder. And there are a lot of people who have that, though they have good desires, but they don't get aroused. And for them, during penetration, they may suffer some form of, bruises, and it will be difficult because the place is not lubricated. And that is where sometimes, for treatment, you may need to use some form of lubricants for those who they have desire and they don't have enough arousal, meaning that, the place is not wet, so that, during penetration it's a little difficult and the friction is much. So lubrication in that case can help in that scenario. Okay, so that's one of the things that happens in arousal disorder. Then there's also what we call, genitopelvic pain disorder. Genitopelvic means that the genitals, the woman's organ, as well as, the pelvis, which is the house where most of all these organs are located, creates pain during any attempt at sexual intercourse. Some of the reasons why a woman may have that may include the fact that either she has suffered a previous injury during sex, like for those who have been raped, because of the actions of rape, maybe they were not really well aroused and penetration was forceful, they suffer some injuries. So that can make them to have some, psychological contraction around their, what we say contraction, we mean, tightening of their vaginal muscles, trying to prevent any form of penetration. And that can create some kind of pain. Technically we call it vaginismus. But vaginismus simply means that there is tightening of the vaginal muscles whenever there's an attempt at having sex, and this can create pain for the woman, as well as it can also injure the man in the process. So those are all forms of pain disorder that can happen. Okay, sometimes people who have had all kinds of infection or maybe previous surgeries around the area, that can also create some form of tightening around the area, which can create pain during penetration. Those are all forms of, pain disorders during sexual intercourse.
Okay.
So the other disorder which we need to discuss is some women never have orgasms despite adequate desire, adequate arousal, but after sex they never experience that. Orgasm, just like we defined it before, is that intense pleasure that comes following sexual intercourse, so that the organ, the genital organ, begins to undergo repeated contraction or movements.
As a matter of fact,
because
as a matter of fact, on this point, Doc, I wanted to come to it because apparently the conversation around orgasms for women is a huge thing. It's a huge deal. So much so that you hear talks about women like to fake it and all of that. I wanted to ask, and this is not my myth or fact segment, but seeing as it's come up now, I had a different question for you earlier on. But while we're here on the conversation around orgasms, I need to know when you say that a woman's orgasms. For her to orgasm, it means, or how she knows she's having an orgasm is you have the repeated contractions around the area. Is it the same for every woman? Because you said there's no the woman doesn't ejaculate anything. But for some people, orgasm in a woman it goes beyond the contractions. It's like you contract and then you release some fluids. Some say squirting. Some say I think that there are different ways that people have described what an orgasm in a woman would look like. So when you say it's contractions around the area, is that all that would happen when a woman orgasms, or are there various types of orgasms or various experiences that a woman goes through when she's having an orgasm?
Okay, that's very good. It's a very good question, because just like I said, a lot of things about the female sexual dysfunction are not commonly discussed. So I think it's good we're saying this now. For a woman, orgasm generally is just the way the brain interprets the activity happening around the genital at that time, meaning that the swelling, the increased lubrication for the woman. So the interpretation of the brain to these things, is what gives that intense feeling of, pleasure. Okay. And depending on the individual, the manifestation can vary sometimes, even though generally for most women is repeated movement of the muscles around the genitals that they experience. But of course, depending on the amount of lubrication around the area, those issues of sweating can happen, or any of such. I don't know if you're getting. So
what's any of such? Doc, don't rush this matter. Today is for the women. Settle down. What's any of such? Those are the things that we want to know. The contractions, repeated contractions around the genitals, squirting. What other thing does it look like? Because some women go through life thinking that they have a sexual dysfunction, and sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of what an orgasm would be like or looks like for her. I don't know. Please clarify any of such.
Okay, that's very fine. Just like I said, the way the brain interprets what is happening around the female organ, the genital, is actually what we describe as orgasms, so that, when the woman has that intense feeling of pleasure, she will now manifest it in different ways. One of which I said the repeated contraction. Okay. One of which is the excretion of some of the, the wetness around the area, what people call squirting. Sometimes it may also involve, the woman, for some women, they may even desire to, have more intimacy in terms of maybe trying to, hold themselves towards their sexual partner. Various forms of body movements, like, trying to hold their sexual partner the more, not willing that the man should come out at that time, trying to also, because at that time, usually what happens is that the vaginal orifice will narrow more around, the penis, giving a firmer grip around the penis. So all these things happen at the same time, so meaning that, and some people never have any of this. Okay, but they feel this intense pleasure because their brain is telling them that, man, this is a very wonderful experience. I mean, so, there are a lot of variations, so that the only thing is that every woman who has gotten to the phase of having an orgasm would have felt satisfied at the end.
Okay, so it's the lack of
satisfaction because of intense pleasure.
So it's the lack of satisfaction that denotes a sexual dysfunction at the point of orgasm.
So to say.
Okay.
Yes, at the point of orgasms.
So
yes.
it's either the woman is getting transmissions from her brain that this is the most pleasurable thing she's experiencing right now, or she's having contractions around the genitals that keep the man locked in, or she's having extra secretions of the bodily fluids or the wetness, or she's actually like squirting, because men like that thing a lot.
Squirting,
and so to some men, if the woman is not squirting, then he has not satisfied her, and so it becomes a problem. So I just need us to clarify that they're variations of what it can look like. Yes,
they're variations. Actually.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That's true. So just like we said, so beyond that, once orgasm has been achieved for a woman, she can have more than one orgasms, per time, not necessarily just a single episode of orgasms, unlike in the man, where usually a single episode of orgasm, the man has to, come to resting phase, then later come back again for maybe a second round if the person can, just like we discussed previously. So these are the cases.
Welcome back to
female sexual dysfunction, that we need to talk about.
Okay.
Yes, and
could you hold that
based
thought?
on the
Could you hold that thought? Before you move on with the next line, let's take a quick break. Just stay with me.
So, where is it happening today?
Nikki's place, of course.
Nikki's again.
Yes, now there's music. Okay. There's snacks. Okay. And they're always chilled Star Rattler.
Hey, now you're talking. You know how much I love my Star Rattler.
Refresh the moment with Star Rattler. Available in citrus and red fruits. Drink responsibly.
Go Nikki, go Rattler. Go Nikki, go Rattler. Star Rattler. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
The facts are glaring.
It's point blank.
It's better to have little that there's blessings of God, that you have much more that there's no blessings of God.
But people need to see, know, and hear.
When you return that money, you hear the message. Whatever is not yours, even if you kill yourself, it will not come. That's my opinion.
So do share the facts on Hard Fact.
Hard Fact.
Hard Fact. 3 to 6 p.m. Live on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
It's new. It's fresh. It's the H45, the all-new Heineken 45CL. The H45 bottle is designed to fit into your lifestyle. It's the same great taste. Cheers to the new Heineken 45CL. The new Heineken 45CL with the same great refreshing taste, now in a size that fits your style. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18.
And that's the effort that puts them in front.
Football makes the world go round.
Got players over here inside the penalty area.
And the A-team brings it to a frenzy.
That's the sound they haven't heard in 14 months.
Then you, the fans, complete it. This is where champions are made.
One of the smallest players on the pitch, who scores for the 4th time in a row against the Gunners.
This is where champions are celebrated.
And it's Kevin De Bruyne, who else?
This is the home of champions. Football frenzy. It's all about the game.
Well, this game's the first goal of all the games that are taking place at the moment.
Catch up with the A-Team on Football Frenzy. Weekdays, 7 to 10 p.m. and weekends, noon to 8 p.m. Exclusive to 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. And let's celebrate football.
There are those who live uncaged, who rise when the night falls. Fire burning brighter, energy igniting. In the dark, we find our freedom, a world of our own, our playground, our canvas, where we can let ourselves go. Uncage the night with a bold, refreshing taste of Tiger Beer. Tiger Beer is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Drink responsibly.
Get to know firsthand.
Sorry to take over the FCT as a minister.
Be one with your city.
River State House to the CBN.
It's What's Happening Abuja.
What's happening, Abuja?
What's Happening Abuja with LFEZ. LFEZ.
On 95.1 Nigeria Info, Abuja.
Let's talk.
We are inspired by our roots, boundless. We create our own rhythm, the rhythm of the new Goldberg Black, a symphony of ingredients to savor, dark malt for that rich, dark quality, and aroma that captivates. 6% alcohol to turn up the enjoyment. Refreshing lager with a kick of black. Feel the groove with Goldberg Black. Same rules, new rhythm. Not suitable for persons under 18 years. Drink responsibly.
We don't feel comfortable about something in Abuja. We have a right to heed the street.
Because I'm a visitor here in Abuja.
Why is it that they are always what happened in Abuja? I say road safety and police to go there and organize
I
them.
just come back now. I'm on Katampe Station Bridge. I want to run through inside Guarimpa to go.
What's happening in Abuja? What's happening 9:30 to 12 p.m. Live on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Got the vibe? We got the flavor. That zesty kick of lemon, the tropical burst of pineapple. That's right. We got the ginger jar.
Legend with a twist.
Introducing Legend Twist, a stout with a twist of flavors. Smooth, bold, with a refreshing taste in every sip. So from one legend to another, now with a twist. Enjoy.
Introducing Legend Twist Flavored Stout. Not suitable for persons under the age of 18. Drink responsibly.
Legend with a twist.
Let's talk on 95.1
Nigeria Info.
Abuja.
And we are back. See if we can do another 25 minutes of Body and Soul this evening before we have to call it a wrap. Dr. Magnus is still in the house and we are still dealing with sexual dysfunction, looking specifically at the females. Dr. Magnus, see if we can take a slightly different approach to it because I have a number of questions already that people have sent in. So if you can address the rest of some of the other things we have to say from the point of the questions so that we can answer some questions in the course of this conversation. Would that be fine?
Yeah, that would be fine.
All right, fantastic. So this one came in a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, and I had to come back to it because it was specifically addressing the women. I see a call coming in, so let me take it and I'll come back and take the message. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Yes,
hello?
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Barrister.
Welcome, Barrister.
Yeah, I just want to ask the doctor some questions. You know, this is a very good program. Understand? You know, things of this nature are very good. Divorces, the underlying nature of divorce. Understand? But the questions I want to ask, you know, what is the effect of female genital mutilation with respect to sexual fulfillment of a woman? Because we know that this female genital mutilation involves the cutting off of the clitoris just to ensure that the woman does not engage in sexual frivolity, and the reverse is normally the case. The secondly, I want to say, at least from my own experience, the attitude of a man towards a woman during sexual intercourse is also very important. When a man is very selfish, so no last more than he just wants to satisfy himself. Just 1 minute, 2 minutes. The man is not good. I mean, most times you need to sexual satisfaction. Understand? Then I like the question you asked me about the nature of organism. It's not just contraction. There's also the need of fluid, intense need of fluid.
And I'm happy to correct himself. These are the issues I want doctor to actually consider.
All right, thank you, sir. I'm sure he will do justice to them. Yep, I appreciate you too, sir.
Lead to more fulfilling marital relationship.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you very much, sir. All right, Doc, he raised, first of all, he commended the initiative, having these conversations on the show, and then he went ahead to ask a few questions, one question and one observation. The question was about female genital mutilation and how it contributes to sexual dysfunction, especially in women. And then he also talked about the role that a man has to play to ensure that his woman is as responsive as she should be, and they both get sexual fulfillment. He says sometimes it depends on the man's attitude towards the woman, and I couldn't agree more. But let's get you to respond to that, and then I'll come back to the question that I said came in a while ago. Do you want to respond to female genital mutilation? That was the question he asked.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question, Barrister. We appreciate that. Yeah, just to respond, female genital mutilation is actually not a good practice. It's something that, of course, over time is going down because everybody condemns it now. It doesn't do any good to the woman. And it's one of the causes of female sexual dysfunction. Why? Because there are different types of female genital mutilation. Depending on the degree. You have the one that involves almost amputating the entire external genital. Some just only amputate just the clitoris. But suffice it to say that for a woman, orgasms in a woman, has the clitoral aspect. In fact, most women, until you stimulate their clitoris, they may never have an orgasm during sex. Okay, yeah. There's also what we call vaginal orgasms, but not all women can actually have that. But most women generally, once their clitoris are stimulated, they usually will have orgasms. So, but in female genital mutilation, many times these clitoris are usually cut off because the reason behind this genital mutilation is that the culture is just that they are trying to reduce promiscuity in the woman. So that the woman will not always be desiring to have sexual intimacy. So they first amputate the clitoris because they know that the clitoris is actually where, it's one of those sensitive organs that helps a woman to enjoy sexual intimacy. Mm-hmm. So it means invariably you would have deprived this woman of having clitoral orgasm, which is a major aspect of orgasms for a woman.
Okay.
Not to talk about the fact that depending on the type of genital mutilation you've done, to the extent that this amputation was done or this cutting was done, healing by most of the tissues around the area gumming to each other can even make penetration difficult, creating room for the pain disorder we described already, so that, the woman will always have pain during penetration, and because of that, she will want to avoid any form of intimacy. So you see that female genital mutilation actually causes a lot of problems, and contributes a lot to female sexual dysfunction. Okay, I'll stop at that because of time.
Yes.
Then talking about
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
What does a man need to do to ensure that his woman enjoys sexual intimacy? Yes, the man has a lot of responsibility. First, for a man, there is this classical description that the man is like the electric stove, while, or rather, the woman is like the electric stove, while the man is like the gas burner. Once you light up a gas burner, it just comes up, boom, and begins to burn. That's the way the man is. Once the man desires sex, either by seeing something that is attractive or hearing something that is attractive, the man can easily quickly start and finish. But the woman is not like that. Usually the woman first is like the way once you on your electric cooker, the electricity will begin to go slowly, gradually around the ring. Gradually over time, the entire ring will not become red hot. That's the way the woman is. So it means that many times, even if the man desires to engage with the woman, knowing that your woman is not like you, that is already fully, aroused. It means you need to do a lot of foreplay. Foreplay means, play before the real act. You need to, play with her, you stimulate her senses, make her feel nice. In fact, sometimes sex in a woman usually doesn't start immediately. For those who are married, many times, that it's better you even start in the morning. If you want to have sex in the night, start in the morning and begin to prime the pump. Meaning that begin to say things that will make sense, begin to show some signs that it seems today we are going to end up doing something wonderful. I mean, just knowing that all those little gestures, trying to, stimulate her, tickle her fancies. Maybe you come home, you see her washing plate, you have to assist and wash the plate. You see how, all those things, trying to relieve stress off her, those things contributes to her becoming more interested in sex. Then when you're not ready to do the real act of sex, you begin to play around her, what we call foreplay. Stimulate her clitoris. Sometimes it may not just be you penetrating immediately. You may need to use your fingers and other things to stimulate her, knowing that, for a woman, the clitoris is so important in helping her, achieve a lot of pleasure during sex, which many times, if you penetrate directly, the male organ does not, go as high as being able to stimulate the clitoris at the time of penetration. So meaning that most clitoral stimulation usually will happen, before the act of penetration. That's what I was saying, because if you know where the clitoris is located, which I don't have a picture right now to show, but I'm sure a lot of people who are on this show would have
our props, Doc. Our props.
No, but I'm sure the audience, most likely, they would have had one or two. They won't be too unaware of what the clitoris.
You might
like.
be shocked.
Yeah.
You might be shocked. You might be shocked that
it's possible
that even a married couple, you might need to educate them on, what exactly the clitoris is and how to ensure that they're engaging that part, especially when you're looking at having sexual satisfaction where your woman is concerned. You might actually be shocked. I just said, let me drop that there. But again, when you were talking about, making sure that you're playing with your woman and teasing her, so that it doesn't sound like work. It's very key, little things with women a lot of the time. Little things, and just ensuring that by the time, say, she's back home from work after a long day, you do whatever you can, just like Doc said, to ease her stress. And trust me, if you got it right from the beginning of the day till that time when she's back home, you may not even need to be heavy on the foreplay before you get her to the point where you need her to be. Do you understand? Because that electric ring, as Doc described it, it already hot. It's hot. At some point she might even be the one to, to engage with you. So it's not work. Right, I just wanted to say that it's not work. When you say you can start early on in the day, it's little things, but little things that will go a long way with the woman. Doc, I want to come to this other point here. Someone sent a message saying, is it true that as a woman gets older, she tends to want sex more? Secondly, why do women act as if they dislike sex while in the real sense they really like it too? Over to you.
Well, those are good questions. But, just like we said for the men, myth and fact, if you want to put it that way, it's not a fact that as women get older, they desire more sex or enjoy sex more. For both men and women, the older you get, the more there's a decline in your sexual virility generally. Because most of these sexual things we talk about are controlled by chemical substances called hormones. Okay, it means first for a woman, as she grows older, usually most women around 45, 55, they would have already attained menopause, usually, around that range. So it means most of the hormones are already declining. Just like we said, some of the things about a woman is that when she has desire, there's arousal. Arousal has to do with a lot of increase in secretion around the genitals as well as swelling.
Yeah.
Those increased secretion and swelling are controlled by those chemical substances called hormones, which when a woman has attained menopause, is no longer as, high the way it used to be before menopause. I don't know if you're getting.
I understand you, but a quick one to clear it up. So you said as they grow older, due to the hormone production, the virility increases. Is virility...
No, it decreases.
Sorry. Is virility the same as sex drive? Or does it mean that their ability to go through with the act, they don't have as much stamina? Well, let's understand what a sexual virility is so that, we're clear on that point. Yes.
Yes, actually, when I was saying sexual virility, I mean that both the desire, the drive decreases, as well as the strength also decreases. Generally, as a woman grows older, both the drive and the strength, because the drive is mediated by those chemical substances many times, as well as.
Oh dear. Okay, let's bring Doc back on. I was just talking about what it means for someone who's older, because based on the question, somebody who's older, does that mean that, sorry, not somebody, a woman who is older, does that mean that when they're older, they want sex more? So that is what Doc was talking about. If you'll be joining us any second to finish off that thought. Let's see if I have a few other messages here to get to while Doc is joining us. All right. Oh, this one is a voice note. Interesting. Okay, I see another question here, but this one is to address the concerns that a man has. We will get to it, I promise. Let's see. Okay, this one here asking about a woman. Let's see if Doc is back up so that we can take it. Yes, he is. All right, Dr. Magnus, you were just finishing off your thought about the older a woman gets, for instance. You said it's not necessarily tied to women, yes? It's male or female. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's very correct.
Okay, so that question, is it true that women get old, as they get older, they want sex more, is not necessarily correct?
It's not correct.
It's not correct. Okay.
It's not correct.
Let's see. We have
maybe an individual may still be, may still have some sex drive, but even comparatively, that individual would have been more sexually active, as well as had more sex drive when she was younger compared to now when she's older. That's what we're saying.
But it doesn't have anything to do, as they get older, it doesn't mean that their capacity to perform is deterred or reduced. They can still perform. It's just that the drive is not as high and the stamina is not as high. Yes?
No, both the drive as well as the stamina is not as high as the woman gets older.
Yes, I agree. But when it comes down to getting the deed done, their skills and dexterity is not affected as they get older.
Well, it also depends on what you mean by skills and dexterity, because skills and dexterity has to do with, you having optimal functions of all the chemical processes in the body. So it doesn't mean that a woman who is older cannot engage in sex, but we're saying that, of course, she may have some experience because she's been having sex, but doesn't mean she may be able, first, positioning, sex is not just done in one position, many time for fun. There are different positions. So as she gets older, first, maybe she may have some back pain, some body pain. She's no longer able to be that malleable. These are basic things that comes with aging. So when you say that...
If she's not fit, because the person that sang Stamina is a 40-something-year-old woman, Tiwa, with her song Stamina, 40-something-year-old woman. So it comes down to how fit the woman is. So older does not necessarily mean incapable. That's just what I was trying to...
incapable. Okay. Yes, of course, it doesn't necessarily mean incapable. It just means that, of course, as you get older, there are some changes that are associated with aging. Everybody begins to... Generally, the natural man begins to, decrease in strength, both your muscular tone, everything, begins to... It's no longer... you're not going to be able to do as much, as somebody who is younger. Doesn't mean you can't still perform when the time comes. But we're saying that relatively more problems comes as somebody gets older, so that, the sexual stamina is also affected.
All right. The second part of that question was, why do women act as if they dislike sex when in the real sense they really like it too? Can you attend to that, Doc? Or is that a myth?
Well, that's something that maybe, just like I said, a lot of things about female sexual functions and dysfunction are shrouded in a lot of, sociocultural, norms, so to say, or sociocultural guidelines, so that, generally the culture does not permit women to be very vocal about what they want in sex. So that even if a woman desires sex, it's not a common thing for her to be the one requesting. I don't know if you're getting. In fact, in some cultures, the woman cannot request. It's only when the man wants to have sex, then the woman can now be asked to come. and just satisfy the man, so that the woman cannot say, oh, I feel like staying with you today, my love, or something like that. It may be counted as a taboo. So it's not like, so I think it's more or less a sociocultural thing. Not like they act like that. It's just the fact that generally they are meant to be the one on the receiving end. Of course, they tend to be the one to receive. They are not the ones,
to initiate.
Initiating the sex. That's what we're saying. Just like generally the man chases, is the hunter. The man is the one that goes to hunt. You chase the woman. The woman beginning to chase you, you feel like, what's the meaning of this? She's too bold and all kinds of things. So that's why most likely it seems they may be acting like that. Of course, we know that gradually with more awareness, some women are beginning to also, stand up to what they need.
I personally think that saying is a myth, that women act like they want it. Pretend like they don't want. I think it's a myth. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I'm not quite sure that you get that more often than not. I don't think so. I think if a woman, of course, especially given that they are a married couple, for example, I think a woman will love if you know how to work on a woman's psyche, especially as a couple, a married couple. Now you go they tire, now you go they run. I don't know that a lot of women who are, in these kinds of relationships where there's ease of communication and all that will be acting like they don't want sex with their husbands. I don't know that is the case. I've not heard that persists, more often than not. So I personally think that saying is a myth. But of course, I get your response on the social cultural area, depending on what part of the world you're in or what part of the country you're in. So it's not like so when I saw that question, what I thought was that a man is actually making moves to be with his woman and she's acting like she does not want it. That's the way I read that question. Like he made it sound like the man would have to convince and convince and convince. Like he's actually in the process of trying to engage with his woman. That's the way I read the question to be, and she's acting like she does not want it. Because I've been in rooms where conversations are had, especially by wives when they're talking about the other room business, and they're talking about the man's approach. There's a way your husband will approach you that is a turn off. It's not because you don't want it, and your reaction at that point is not because you don't like it. It's just you don't like the way he approached it. Like I've heard where I don't know again, this is a myth, but I'm just going to say what I heard. That, for example, a man's idea of foreplay with his wife is just reaching out and grabbing her titties, her nipples, and fondling it, and that's all. Like in a very aloof manner. Of course, if that is your way of telling your wife that you want to have sex with her, she will not like it. It's not because she's acting like it. She actually does not like it, because your approach, either gets her ready or turns her off completely. So when I saw that question, in my head, what I was seeing is a man that is already in the act of engaging with his woman, but she's not liking it because it's the way he's engaging with her. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, that also contributes. I mean, the manner in which the man, initiates this sexual activity can actually make the woman, show some desire too. So it's very important. Yes, I think a lot of men needs to be taught on how to, woo their women and make them, desire these things, because women are emotional beings, so to say, and a lot of things that needs to be done around their emotions so that they can also get interested. Just like a lot of men, I've had men who, what they do, they just come back. The woman has been the one at home, busy, working, getting tired with all kinds of things. Once she's just done, and she's taking her bath, they just want to come and mount on her. Yeah, the woman will act as though she's not interested, even though she actually wants to have sex. But I mean, for goodness sake, you never really showed any interest. You just wanted to just have sex and go. You didn't even care to know whether she's eating, if she needed some help. And what I'm saying, that a lot of things that men needs to do more work on, so that possibly the women can actually also, because I think everybody, both men and women, actually are interested in having sexual intimacy. I mean, it's something that is pleasurable. It should be desirable. Yeah, but maybe the approach, just like you said, contributes.
Okay. All right, Doc, we're down to our last minute on the show today because we have another ad coming up and it's quite long. And so I know that by the time we come back, there won't be time to continue. I had another question here. So I'll just throw the question towards you and see if you can use that to wrap up the conversation for today. Clearly, we're coming back to this next week. This one says, is it true that women release sperm as well? Jafaru Hussein had that question to ask. Remember, we're speaking to sexual dysfunction in women. I don't know about sperm, but if a woman does release sperm, it's sexual dysfunction, right? Except what they release is not actually sperm, but you interpret it as sperm.
Sperm, yeah. Yeah, I think you already answered it. Women don't release sperm. They don't have testes. It's only those who have testes that produce sperm. And that is a man. It's only men that have testes, they produce sperm. So what this person may be confusing or misconstruing for a sperm may just be what we call the squirting. That secretion that we say sometimes can actually come out at the time of orgasms.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not sperm. Neither can it be sperm.
Okay. All right. We barely scratched the surface, clearly, from the conversation today, because from what we did last week, we were already at the point of, okay, this is what to do if this is a problem that you have as a woman. And so the conversation will definitely continue next week, whether it's pain you're experiencing, whether it is the inability to orgasm, whether it's the inability to have desire. We'll come back next week. And Doctor and I have been discussing, see if we can bring a female doctor on as well to help with the conversations, to prefer solutions to some of these dysfunctional issues that women might have when it comes to sex. But for today, based on the glitch, I know it seems like we've been here for only 20 minutes, but our time is actually up. So say thank you so much, Doc, for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
See you next week.
Well appreciated.
Thank you, boss.
All right. See you. Thank you.
Barney. It's rich, dark, and satisfying. It's Trophy Extra Special Stout. Originally black.
Drink responsibly, not to be sold to persons under the age of 18 years.
Let's get into the sunny way of the FCT.
Your Let's Talk station is here to keep you informed.
Sunny side. 12 to